what, according to you, are some of the common misconceptions about the hair loss that you encounter? And also, how do you address them?
So good. Such a great question. Well, the biggest one I would say is, but I thought it was genetics.
Yeah, exactly.
My dad was bald. Actually, my dad is bald. My mom has sitting hair. In one of my master classes, I actually had a picture up of my mom and dad and how they looked when they were younger, how they look now, how I looked in 2020 when my hair was a mess, and how I look now. And I said, look, this is my genetic quote unquote destiny. However, you don't have to end up that way if you don't want to. The reason they ended up that way was because they had exposures to different toxicants. They had exposure to different insults as they were getting older. And their body tried to deal with it by making their hair thinner or making it bald. And I'll explain. One of the reasons that people take spironolactone or certain medications to help reverse their hair loss is because of DHT. Have you heard of DHT before?
Yes, yes.
Who hasn't, right? Everybody. If they're interested in their hair regrowing. But what we are starting to uncover as of late is that DHT, though it is present in people that have androgenetic alopecia, or so they diagnose it that way, it isn't necessarily the reason why the hair is miniaturizing or falling off. They're noticing there's a relationship between DHT and prostaglandins actually have the ability to constrict and contract within your body in order to repair damage within you. And so there's this hypothesis that what is leading to your hair getting worse from this excess DHT is not exactly the DHT, but the prostaglandin that comes to the scene when DHT shows up. And for people that are producing excess DHT, they almost never ask why. Why all of a sudden are you producing more DHT? This is what they like to label as genetics. Well, DHT is actually a very true form of testosterone. And
Yeah.
the reason I say that is when you have testosterone, testosterone can be broken down into different hormones through the process of aromatization. However, DHT cannot be broken down any further. DHT is testosterone, will always be testosterone, will not change into anything else. And testosterone, which is a hormone, actually has the ability to modulate inflammation.
Okay.
So people that are producing excess DHT could potentially be producing it as a genetic gift to modulate inflammation, not as a curse, but as a gift.
Okay.
It's your body's ability to try to make you live longer. It'll say, you know what? Yeah, you might be getting thinner hair from this, but we're trying to keep you alive. This is Operation Stay Alive. Okay. Screw the hair. Let's modulate inflammation.
Yeah.
And there are so many different examples in the human body where, for example, someone that has high cholesterol,
Hmm.
they are creating excess cholesterol because they have arterial tears. So the body's full of arteries. And when you have excess inflammation, your artery may tear from that inflammation, and cholesterol will show up to the scene. The good cholesterol will show up to the scene and plug that hole.
Oh.
When it plugs that hole, the good cholesterol is
Hmm.
supposed to come over and take over the rest of the bad cholesterol back to the liver. But when you're not producing enough good cholesterol and you have too much bad cholesterol,
Hmm.
then you end up getting the bad cholesterol oxidized. And that's where you get the plaque in your arteries. And so this high cholesterol is not a genetic curse. It is a genetic superpower where your body said, well, we got to deal with this inflammation. So let's increase the cholesterol to try to fix this. But when we aren't assisting the body through that process, eating the right diet, reducing inflammation, which is one of the 5 non-negotiables to reversing hair loss naturally, then we have a scenario where we consistently have high cholesterol.
Oh, thanks for sharing this. It's very, very important and very informative also. So, okay, the nutrition and the lifestyle definitely plays a crucial role in the approach. So, in your approach as well. So, what dietary and the lifestyle changes do you typically recommend for someone who is actually struggling with the hair loss?
Yes, wow. Most people
Mhm.
that ask me that question are not ready for the answer.
Okay.
The reason I say so, Avik, is because as soon as I tell them, they start giving me all the excuses. They're in denial. They just want to work around it.
Okay.
So I will say there are 5 inflammatory foods that once we remove these from the diet, we help create an environment for the body to be less inflamed and to be able to heal itself. Now, there may be extra food choices depending on that person and how compromised their health is. Or it may be that they don't experience as many symptoms when they eat one of these 5 foods because they're maybe healthy enough where they're not feeling as many symptoms but still having hair loss, right? And so these 5 foods are sugar of any kind,
Exactly.
fruit, all bananas, just way too many grams of sugar. There are labels on most of the packaged foods that we eat that express how many grams of sugar are in there.
Mhm.
We want to keep that number below 20 to 25 grams of sugar in a day. And if you are eating a whole food like a broccoli that doesn't have that, you can always Google it. So sugar of any kind in excess, and certainly we do want to stay away from the processed sugar. So
Exactly.
any kind of sugar that we're consuming, we want that to be natural sugar. Almonds have sugar. There's sugar almost in everything they eat.
Understood.
That's a big, yeah. And then gluten,
Okay.
that is a huge one. Gluten is in bread, gluten is in cookies and cake, but it's also in rice and corn, which are 2 more on the list.
Okay. So then what people will eat at the end?
There's
I believe
also
lot
dairy.
of a lot of people will definitely ask this question.
I told you weren't ready for the answer.
Exactly.
I get so much pushback. Yes, dairy is another one. So those are the 5 foods. And what do you eat? That's a good question because everyone always asks me the same thing. They feel like I've taken away everything that they eat all day long that they enjoy and makes their life worth living. Well, there are beans,
Okay.
right? Lentils, pinto beans, navy beans, the beans. There are also gluten-free pastas that are made from beans.
Okay.
So you don't have to feel that deprived of just someone that likes to eat pasta. If you like eating rice, there are gluten-free grains or seed-like grain. Quinoa is one, buckwheat is another one. You can still, there's gluten-free oats. You can
Mhm.
still consume that, being aware of how many grams of sugar you eat in a day, you can still consume that and not feel as deprived. And then they even make bread out of almonds, out of cassava.
Okay.
They make tortillas out of chickpeas.
Mhm.
There are so many different options, especially in 2024.
Okay.
And then you have your lean proteins. If you're not someone who's vegetarian, if you are vegetarian or vegan, I would recommend fermented tempeh as a protein source, as well as some of the grains that I mentioned as a protein source, beans as a protein source. But if you are eating meat, go ahead and have your organic chicken, your organic turkey, your shrimp, your fish, wild caught fish, all of those, and root vegetables and regular vegetables, sulfur-rich vegetables, cruciferous vegetables, as well as root vegetables. So I'm speaking about cassava, carrots, beets. What else is there? There are so many when it comes to root vegetables. Sweet potatoes, regular potatoes, and I'm speaking about broccoli, cauliflower, green beans, carrots. I think I mentioned carrots already. Onions, garlic, all of these foods, we can actually eat them more often than we believe and have an amazing life because we're symptom free.
Mm.
So many times someone is feeling amazing and the next thing they know, oh, I have a headache. Oh, I feel tired. Oh, I feel bloated. Oh, I have a pimple. That could possibly be from what you're eating. And it could also be from your environment, which is something else that makes people sick. Some people have a allergy to dust. They have
Yeah,
an allergy to mold. And those things can be causing your hair to be thinner. So yeah, and then nuts and seeds. That's the last group that I would say is
okay,
something you want to incorporate into your diet as well.
exactly.